Sarah Mitchell stood outside Brennan's general store, her daughter's cold hand in hers. Frost glazed the window, and she knew before knocking that the door wouldn't open. Through the glass, she saw the storekeeper's wife glance their way, then deliberately turn her back, vanishing into the aisles of flour and canned goods. 4 coins lay in Sarah's palm, the exact cost of a week's flour. Emma, just 5, shivered beside her, still believing her mother could fix anything. But Sarah couldn't fix the town's judgment. She knocked anyway. Once. Twice. The door cracked open. "We don't serve your kind," the woman said, each word sharp as the February wind. "Pastor's orders. You understand." Sarah's lips trembled, but she said nothing. Emma tugged her sleeve. "Mama?" Sarah turned, walking down Main Street with her head high and her hope dying. Mothers pulled their children inside. A man spat near her boots. This was Redemption Springs, Wyoming Territory, 1887, a town that believed in second chances for everyone except unwed mothers. Emma slipped in a frozen puddle. Her small cry echoed, and no one moved to help. Sarah bent to lift her, but a calloused hand appeared first. "Easy now, little one." A man she'd never seen, weathered face, trailed dust on his boots, eyes that had seen hard things. He helped Emma stand, then tipped his hat. "Jacob Brennan, ma'am. My camp's got coffee, if the child needs warming." Sarah hesitated. Every promise from strange men had cost her dearly. But Emma's lips were blue, and the town had just turned its back. "Just warmth," she said softly. "Nothing more," he answered. They followed him past the town's edge, 3 figures against a gray sky. Behind them, the church bell tolled like judgment. Ahead, a small fire flickered. Jacob's camp was simple, a dying fire, worn bedroll, saddlebags heavy with miles. He poured coffee without questions, and that silence felt more generous than charity. Emma crouched near the flames. Sarah stood apart, wary of kindness she couldn't repay. "Hard tack," Jacob said, offering food. "Not fancy, but it fills." As they ate, Sarah's story emerged in fragments: the traveling salesman who'd promised marriage then disappeared, the pastor's sermon that turned the town against her, and the eviction notice due in 3 days. Jacob stirred the fire. "There's an old Patterson cabin 5 miles north. Empty since the family died. Good bones. We can't afford land," Sarah said bitterly. "It's unclaimed. Squatters' rights, maybe. I knew Patterson's boy, owed me a debt from the war." When he spoke, Sarah saw something unspoken in his eyes, a loneliness that matched her own. She gathered her courage. "If you help us reach it, fix what's needed, I'll cook, mend, work for it. I won't take charity." Jacob studied her, then nodded. "A week's work, fair trade." They shook hands, sealing the fragile bargain. Snow began to fall as Jacob doused the fire. When he packed, Sarah saw him touch a locket around his neck, unconsciously, painfully. He caught her looking and turned away. "Storm's coming," he said. "We should move." They walked through the forest trail, Jacob leading a mule loaded with supplies. Emma rode atop it, wrapped in his spare coat, chattering about snow and trees. His voice answering her was gentler than Sarah expected. "You're good with children," she said quietly. "Was," he replied, one word carrying years. That night by the fire, Jacob told her haltingly about his wife and infant son lost to cholera while he'd been away chasing gold. "Haven't stayed anywhere since," he said. Sarah nodded. "I stayed, tried to belong. They punished me for loving wrong." "They took your name," Jacob murmured. "But your daughter still calls you Mama. That's a name that matters." They reached the cabin at dusk. The roof sagged, but walls stood strong. When Jacob lit the fireplace, the smoke curled upward like hope refusing to die. "You've done enough," Sarah said. Emma tugged Jacob's sleeve. "Which room is yours?" He looked at his saddlebags, then hung them on a nail. He didn't say he was staying, he just stayed. 3 weeks passed. Jacob fixed the roof, Sarah mended his shirt, unconsciously embroidering his initials. Emma laughed in the yard, chasing the 3 chickens Jacob had somehow found. The place began to feel like home. But one day, Jacob returned from town with half the supplies. The sheriff had warned him, Calloway, a greedy rancher, was claiming the land. Worse, the pastor was spreading talk about sinful living. Jacob said nothing, but the tension showed in every movement. "You're risking everything for us," Sarah told him one evening. "Maybe I'm doing it for me," he said, voice raw. "I'm tired of running from what matters." Then came the storm, 3 days of snow trapping them inside. They talked until their voices grew quiet and comfortable. On the 3rd morning, Emma woke them whispering, "Are we a family now?" They didn't answer aloud. But their silence was enough. By April, snow melted into soil. Sarah woke to see Jacob planting seeds outside, rows neat and careful. He was planning for tomorrow. He repaired Emma's doll, carving a new arm. The tenderness broke something in her heart and healed it at the same time. But distance still lingered, Jacob sleeping in the barn sometimes, Sarah flinching when his hand brushed hers. Then Emma, exploring, found the locket. Inside was a woman's face and a lock of baby hair. When Jacob saw it, he went pale and walked out. Sarah found him by the creek, shoulders shaking. "I failed them," he whispered. "I wasn't there." She held him silently until the sobs stopped. "They'd want you happy," she said softly. "I don't know how." "You're learning," she said. From that night on, he slept inside, under the same roof, the same hope. But peace never lasts long in the West. Jacob rode into town one morning and walked into an ambush. Calloway and Pastor Hutchkins waited. "That Patterson land's mine," Calloway sneered. "You and your whore got 7 days to clear out." Pastor added coldly, "We're concerned for the child's welfare. She'll be taken to a proper Christian home." Jacob's blood boiled. He rode back, shaking with fury, and blurted the only solution he could think of. "Marry me." "They can't take her if we're wed." Sarah's eyes hardened. "I won't be your obligation." "That's not." "I've been someone's duty before," she said, tears rising. "It's worse than being abandoned." "I'm not him." "Then why are you proposing? Love or fear?" The fight left them both raw. He stormed to the barn, she packed in silence. That night, Jacob sat in a saloon staring at untouched whiskey. Violence throbbed behind his eyes. The bartender, an old friend, spoke quietly. "You gonna drink that or break it?" "Haven't decided." "Heard about your trouble. Calloway owns the law. You gonna fight him the old way?" "Maybe." The bartender met his eyes. "That who you want the little girl to remember? Another drifter, or the man who stayed?" The words stopped him cold. Jacob left the glass untouched. Back at the cabin, Sarah packed their meager belongings. Emma, clutching her doll, whispered, "Mama, we can't leave. The plants will die." Sarah saw the tiny green shoots Jacob had planted and understood. Running again meant teaching her daughter that love never lasted. She straightened. "We're staying." At dawn, Jacob returned. Sarah met him on the porch. "I proposed wrong," he said. "Not for safety. For love. Because you and Emma are my second chance." Sarah's tears came freely. "Yes, Jacob. But they'll fight harder." "Let them," he said. "Families stand together." When he kissed her, the sunrise caught them both. Emma cheered from the doorway, half asleep and smiling. That Sunday, they walked into Redemption Springs holding hands. Gasps followed them through the church doors. The pastor's sermon dripped with condemnation until the bartender stood. Then the schoolteacher. Then others, voices rising against hypocrisy. "Is this who we are?" the bartender said. "Turning away children and punishing kindness?" Calloway thundered, "That land's mine." Jacob stepped forward, calm. "Not anymore." He held up a deed, signed and sealed by Patterson's widow, honoring a war debt. "Legal and witnessed," the sheriff confirmed. "Your claim's void, Calloway. You threaten them again, I'll arrest you." Calloway stormed out. The church fell silent. Some faces softened. It wasn't acceptance yet, but it was the beginning. Weeks later, the cabin bloomed with life. Curtains fluttered, chickens clucked, and the garden thrived. A traveling preacher came, an old man with kind eyes who asked no questions but one, "Do you love each other?" They did. Jacob slipped a rough forged ring on Sarah's finger. "Sarah Brennan," he said quietly. She smiled at the name, her choice this time. Emma scattered wildflowers like confetti. They ate stew from their own garden, laughter filling the room. That evening, they sat on the porch watching the sun dip behind the hills. Emma pointed skyward. "Look, Papa, more geese coming back." He smiled. "Everything comes back, given the right home." Sarah leaned against him, warmth and peace settling deep. They had names. They had land. They had each other. "We made it," she whispered. "We did," Jacob said softly. Emma yawned. "And we're staying forever, right?" They answered together, voices blending like promise. Forever. The land that had once been barren bloomed with color. Winter was over. Spring had come to stay. And three souls once lost had finally found home.